Hey everyone! Welcome back to Story Hive. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's jump into today's story. My parents gave me up for adoption because they were still in high school when they had me. 24 years later, I found them. My mom had me when she was just 14, and I, a 24-year-old man, was given up for adoption. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? My parents told me about her growing up. It's crazy reading it sometimes and knowing it was a literal child who wrote it saying she's sorry she couldn't be my mom but hopes I'm happy. She was open to having contact, but we moved from my dad's job when I was 11, and then it seemed impossible to find her. Luckily, I did. She's working at this small restaurant, and I keep going, but she doesn't know it's me. We talk sometimes, and she seems like a nice lady. Sometimes when she says something like, "Do you want a refill, honey?" or uses another term like that, I want to tell her and let her know that I'm right here. I don't know why it makes me nervous. We talk sometimes, and she seems really genuine. If it's not super busy, she's more open to talking about random stuff. I literally drive 2 hours to come eat at this place just to see her, and it's like she knows me already because I'm there once or twice a week for the past 3 months. So she always says hi with a big smile. But man, if only she knew. Update 1? Well, I did it. I told her, and yeah, it was pretty heavy. My heart was beating super fast the entire time I waited for her to finish her shift and until they were done closing up the restaurant. After she finished closing up, she saw me waiting in the parking lot. We waved and said hi to each other, but then I told her there was something serious that she needed to know. First, I apologized for keeping it from her for so long. She didn't react until I actually pulled out her letter. Then she started bawling, screaming, and crying at the same time. I didn't even have to finish the "Hello, Mom" speech. She just saw it and knew. It was crazy. The next thing I knew, she was hugging me instantly, but then she pulled back and asked if it was okay to hug me. Of course it was. We were just there hugging and crying in the parking lot. It hit her hard. Her legs gave out for a second, so I had to actually hold her up while she was still hugging me for a minute. What really got to me was her saying, "Look how big you've got." Also, hearing her cry made me cry too. She went back to open the restaurant, and we sat in there for hours talking about so many things. We had coffee, ate a slice of their pie, and just talked about anything and everything that came to mind. She told me that the second time I came to the restaurant, she got a feeling that I felt really familiar, but for her it was hard to believe it could be me, so that feeling she had was pushed way down. She told me that for years after I was adopted, she would see kids around my age and used to think they were me. Then she would start crying in public. It really messed with her mind and made her depressed, so she didn't want to do the same when she first started seeing me in the restaurant. She said I looked so much like my biological dad when he was younger. We talked about him too. They stayed in contact with each other in case I ever reached out to one of them so it would be easier to contact the other. I didn't have any hope about finding my biological dad since he was never mentioned, so I'm glad they both planned for this future scenario. She told me about how they both wanted to keep me, especially my biological dad. He didn't want me to be adopted, but he knew they had to because they were just kids. It took him a long time to get past it after I was born. That's why he didn't leave anything behind. He didn't want to believe he would ever get to see me again. We talked for hours until almost 2 a.m. She wanted to know everything about me, but her main concern was, am I happy? Were my parents good to me? Did I have a happy childhood? And I did. I told her thank you for helping to give me this life. We both cried again, but she cried the most. Everything was very emotional for her. Sometimes she would look really happy but then get sad again. After my 18th birthday, she was hoping I would find her. That's why she stayed in the same city. But since I didn't, she always thought maybe I resented her, wasn't told I'm adopted, or maybe had decided it was better not to have her around. It made me feel bad for not telling her sooner. She told me it's not my fault, and I did the right thing by going at my own pace. Honestly, she's so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile made me emotional. Sometimes it makes you think how someone who's been a total stranger your whole life can look at you with so much love. It's wild. We learned so much about each other. She asked me if we could have dinner soon to keep talking, and if, at some point in the future, I'm interested to come over to her house so I can meet her husband. That all sounded really great. We exchanged numbers, and after I left, my girlfriend came over, and she hugged me while I cried. I wasn't sad, these were happy tears. Everything went better than I expected. There was still emotionally heavy stuff. Update 2. Lots of you asked me to let you know how it goes meeting my biological dad, and to say it was emotional is an understatement. To be honest, this was more nerve-wracking for me because I didn't know anything about him. With my biological mom, it was different because I watched her from afar and got to know her a little before it all came out. I asked my biological mom if she could be there too, just because she knows him better, so it was the two of us waiting for him at this park. He was already crying before we even got to him. This guy is strong too, so he pulled me in for the biggest bear hug, and we were both crying. He told me he wants me to know that they loved me so much, and he loves me. I lost count of how many times he'd come back in for one more hug. This definitely got to him, and he kept saying "Thank you, God" a few times while looking at my face. Hearing him tell me how much they loved me even back then meant so much to me, and not going to lie, that had me holding him tight too. I'm sure to everyone at the park it was weird seeing three crying people. My biological dad said he cried so many times just driving over here, he didn't think he had any more tears until he saw us. When we were all sitting down, it hit me that my biological mom was not kidding when she said we look alike. Obviously, he's older, but still, the similarities were crazy. He brought gifts too, which was a surprise. It was really nice. He told me I don't have to keep them if I don't want to, but he felt weird not coming with anything, and he's wanted to give this to me for a long time. One was a teddy bear holding a picture frame of him at the hospital holding me. He was 15 years old. It's still crazy to realize that. The other thing was a journal. The journal was something he said he started writing to me years after I was adopted. He was in therapy, and that helped him cope, thinking he would give them to me one day, his way of still feeling connected to me. I haven't read everything yet, but some of the pages were his thoughts, as if he was talking directly to me how he felt when they found out my biological mom was pregnant, then the adoption, and everything going on in his mind. I didn't even know he was at the hospital too. It was not what I was expecting. It really got me. I read some more of what he wrote last night, and it really got me crying. I'm sad to think how much this affected them emotionally for years. Also, I think it's pretty sweet. He wanted to write this for me. We talked about his own life, which was pretty hard, his struggles with home life, and the feelings he had about giving me up. Then he wanted to know everything about me, basically with the same question my biological mom had. I made sure they knew they made the right decision because my life was pretty great. He looked like he wanted to cry when he knew that, because that's all they hoped for, and it was something he always wondered about for years. My biological mom left a bit after we were more comfortable so we could talk more in private. Once it didn't feel too awkward between us. He told me stories about how he met my biological mom. Sometimes he'd point out stuff he noticed about me that reminded him of her, or me and him having similar likes. My biological dad was really open about sharing everything, like he really was getting ready for this meeting. He hoped it would happen and prayed every day to see me again because he had so many things he wanted to tell me. Overall, it was a really good first meeting. I'm glad how it went. He's open to the idea of meeting my parents after I told them about all this, because they definitely want to meet my biological parents again if I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, if my biological parents are too, let's see when that happens. I don't know how it's going to feel for me. They've met each other before I was even born, but I never had them in the same place, so that'll be interesting. My parents and I met up yesterday to have breakfast so I could tell them everything. My mom was so happy about how it went. She actually cried too when I was telling them about both their reactions. My dad was proud because he knew how hard it was in the months after finding my biological mom and not really wanting to make contact yet. I'm really happy to have their support because it's hard not to feel guilty about wanting to know more about my biological parents. They gave me a really good life, but they told me many times they want me to do this for myself, and they know how much I love them, and I really do. Finding them and meeting them was hard, but it was so worth it to me, and seeing their reactions made it feel even more worth it. I still can't believe it sometimes. Update 3. A few months have passed since that emotional reunion with my biological parents, and things have been unfolding in ways I hadn't anticipated. After meeting my biological mom and dad, I felt a profound connection with them, but I was also curious about how the rest of my life might be affected by these new relationships. Life with my biological mom continued to be a source of warmth and excitement. We've managed to keep in touch regularly, and our relationship has grown deeper with each conversation. She's invited me to her home a few times, and each visit has been a blend of joy and nostalgia. Her husband has been welcoming, and it's clear how much they both cherish this new chapter of our lives. They've embraced me as part of their family, and I'm starting to feel like I truly belong in both worlds now. One of the most touching moments happened recently when my biological mom and I went through old family photos together. She showed me pictures of her teenage years, her friends, and even some photos from when she was pregnant with me. Seeing these images and hearing the stories behind them helped me understand her journey and the sacrifices she made. Meeting my biological dad again has also been a rewarding experience. We've spent more time together, and I've learned about his life. He's been open about his regrets and the pain of giving me up, but he's also expressed how much he values our newfound connection. We've shared stories, laughed over old memories, and even talked about future plans. I've also arranged for my parents who raised me to meet my biological mom and dad. It was a nerve-wracking but ultimately heartwarming experience. They all hit it off remarkably well, and the conversations flowed easily. My adoptive parents were supportive and open, and they seemed genuinely pleased to see me so happy and to meet the people who gave me life. It was clear that they understand and respect the importance of these relationships to me. As for my relationship with my biological mom and dad, it's evolving into something truly special. We've started creating new memories together, from simple family dinners to small trips. It feels like I'm weaving together the past and present in a way that enriches my life. Despite the challenges and the emotional roller coaster, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. Finding my biological parents and building a relationship with them has been an incredible journey. It's allowed me to embrace all parts of my identity and has given me a richer understanding of where I come from. Life goes on, and I'm navigating it with a newfound sense of completeness. It's a strange and beautiful experience to have so many people who care about me and to have so many facets of my story finally coming together. I still sometimes find it hard to believe how everything has unfolded, but I'm learning to cherish every moment of this extraordinary journey. Update 4. The weeks have flown by, and the novelty of reconnecting with my biological parents has settled into a comfortable routine. Each interaction with them feels more natural, and the initial intensity of our first meetings has given way to a deeper, more relaxed connection. My biological mom and I have developed a rhythm in our communication. We have regular phone calls where we catch up on our lives, share our thoughts, and plan visits. She's started sharing more personal stories from her life, which has helped me understand her even better. It's been a mix of profound moments and everyday chats, creating a new sense of normalcy in our relationship. One particularly memorable weekend, she invited me to spend a few days at her home. It was my first time staying there, and it felt surreal to be in the place where she'd lived through so many of her formative years. Her home was warm and inviting, filled with photos and mementos from her life. We spent time cooking together, reminiscing about old times, and enjoying long walks in the nearby park. It was during this visit that I truly felt like a part of her life, blending seamlessly into her world. Meanwhile, my relationship with my biological dad has also continued to grow. We've found a shared interest in music, and he's been teaching me about some of his favorite bands from the past. Our conversations often drift to philosophical topics or stories from his youth, and it's been fascinating to hear his perspective on life. He's been incredibly supportive, and his encouragement has helped me gain confidence in pursuing my own passions. In addition to these personal connections, I've started to introduce my biological parents to more aspects of my life. They've met some of my friends and attended a couple of events I was involved in. It's been heartening to see them interacting with my friends and family, and their presence has been a source of joy and pride for me. My adoptive parents have remained a pillar of support throughout this journey. Their understanding and encouragement have made it easier for me to navigate this new chapter in my life. They've been involved in planning some of the get-togethers with my biological parents, and it's been touching to see the bond that's forming between everyone. My adoptive mom has been especially supportive, often reaching out to me with messages of encouragement and checking in on how things are going. Lately, I've been reflecting on how this journey has transformed me. The connections with my biological parents have given me a richer sense of who I am and where I come from. I feel like I'm living a fuller version of my story, one that includes both the family who raised me and the family I discovered later in life. It's not without its challenges. Balancing these relationships can sometimes feel overwhelming, and there are moments of emotional complexity that arise. Yet, through it all, I've found a sense of peace and fulfillment. The journey has been anything but ordinary, but it has brought unexpected joy and a deeper understanding of my own identity. Looking forward, I'm excited about continuing to build these relationships and exploring the new facets of my life that have emerged. Each day brings new experiences and insights, and I'm grateful for the connections I've made and the people who have become such an integral part of my life. Thanks for tuning in to today's Reddit story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on more amazing stories. See you next time.